The unseen threat. The vast emptiness of space rarely whispered secrets, but today was different. The Zyraxian reconnaissance vessel Stellar Probe glided silently through the cosmic darkness, its advanced sensors probing the unremarkable star system that would soon change galactic history forever. Commander Krillax, a seasoned veteran of countless interstellar surveys, leaned forward in his bioadaptive command chair. His four-fingered hand hovered over the holographic display, tracing the orbital paths of an insignificant blue-green planet. Preliminary data streams scrolled across his neural interface, each line of information seemingly confirming what his species had long believed. Another primitive world ripe for systematic resource extraction. Preliminary scan complete, announced Lyra, the ship's primary data analyst. Her translucent skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns that reflected her analytical concentration. Planet designation: Earth. Technology level: pre-unified planetary infrastructure. Defensive capabilities: minimal. Krillax's secondary respiratory sacs expanded with a mixture of anticipation and professional detachment. The Zyraxian collective had encountered hundreds of developing civilizations. Each followed a predictable pattern: initial resistance, followed by inevitable submission. This planet would be no different. Detailed analysis, he commanded, his vocal modulators producing a crisp, emotionless tone. Lyra's neural tendrils interfaced directly with the ship's main computational matrix. Holographic projections materialized, displaying intricate details about the planet's composition, atmospheric conditions, and technological markers. Interesting anomalies detected, Lyra reported. Her tone carried a hint of uncertainty, a rare emotional leak for a Zyraxian data specialist. Multiple communication networks, diverse technological signatures, unexplained energy fluctuations in major population centers. Krillax shifted, his exoskeletal armor adjusting to his movement. Anomalies were not welcome in standard invasion protocols. The collective preferred predictability, systematic approaches that minimized resource expenditure and maximized efficiency. Elaborate, he demanded. Lyra manipulated the holographic display. Images of bustling cities, complex technological infrastructures, and seemingly chaotic yet interconnected systems bloomed around them. Satellites, communication networks, and an intricate web of digital and physical connections painted a picture far more complex than initial scans suggested. The planet's technological development appears nonlinear, Lyra explained. Unlike most developing civilizations, their technological progression seems unpredictable. Multiple independent research centers, rapid innovation cycles, decentralized knowledge distribution. Krillax's primary optical sensors narrowed. Unpredictability was a variable the collective's invasion algorithms struggled to compute. Every civilization they had encountered followed known developmental trajectories. This Earth seemed to defy standard computational models. Biological assessment, he prompted. Another holographic layer emerged, displaying intricate details of human biology, social structures, and environmental adaptations. Genetic diversity, remarkable immune responses, neuroplasticity that defied standard evolutionary models. Recommendation, Krillax asked, though it was more a formality than a genuine inquiry. Lyra's response was instantaneous. Standard invasion protocol remains viable. Technological disparity suggests minimal resistance. Projected conquest timeline: 72 standard galactic cycles. Yet, something in the data made Krillax hesitate, a sensation almost alien to his species' coldly logical approach. The human data points seemed to dance, to shift, to resist traditional analytical frameworks. Little did the Zyraxian reconnaissance team know that their computational models were about to be spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. Unbeknownst to them, humanity was watching, waiting, preparing. The first act of Earth's defense had already begun. Humanity united. The first whispers of the impending threat began in the most unexpected of places. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, lead researcher at the Global Threat Assessment Center in Buenos Aires, noticed the anomaly during a routine satellite monitoring session. Most would have dismissed the micro-perturbations in deep space communications as solar interference, but Alina's intuition, honed by years of studying potential extraterrestrial risks, told her something was different. "Marcus," she called to her colleague, her voice steady but charged with an electric urgency, "run a cross-verification on these signal patterns." Marcus Okello, a Kenyan astrophysicist with a reputation for skepticism, pulled up the data. His initial dismissive smirk slowly transformed into a look of profound concentration. The signal patterns didn't match any known natural or human-made phenomenon. Within hours, a global network of scientists, military strategists, and government officials found themselves in an unprecedented emergency conference. The United Nations Extraterrestrial Preparedness Committee, a group that had previously been viewed as a bureaucratic formality, suddenly became the most critical organization on the planet. General Catherine Armstrong, a veteran of multiple international peacekeeping missions, stood at the holographic display. Her cybernetic eye, a remnant of a previous conflict, scanned the incoming data streams with mechanical precision. "We're looking at a potential first contact scenario," she announced, her voice cutting through the mounting tension. "But this isn't a diplomatic mission. This is a reconnaissance that screams invasion preparation." The room fell silent. Representatives from every continent, from the tech corridors of Tokyo to the research stations of Cape Town, from the innovation hubs of Silicon Valley to the strategic centers of Moscow, listened intently. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, head of the Global Technological Consortium, was the first to break the silence. "Our distributed network gives us an advantage they cannot anticipate," he explained. "We're not a centralized target. We're a living, breathing, adaptive system." What followed was perhaps the most remarkable display of human cooperation in recorded history. National boundaries dissolved as a singular purpose emerged. Military assets were repositioned. Research facilities began sharing classified technologies. Communication networks that had previously been competitive now became a unified grid of information and defensive potential. In underground facilities across the globe, experimental technologies long kept secret began to emerge. Quantum communication systems developed in secret labs in Switzerland. Adaptive nanotechnology from research centers in Singapore. Biomimetic defense systems conceptualized by a collaborative team of engineers from Brazil and India. The alien reconnaissance team believed they were observing a fragmented, competitive species. They were about to learn the true meaning of human adaptability. Marcus looked at Alina, a hint of a smile breaking through his professional demeanor. "They're going to regret choosing us as a target," he said quietly. Alina nodded, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The planet was transforming, not through massive, obvious movements, but through a million small, interconnected adaptations, like a living organism preparing its immune response. Unbeknownst to the Xyraxian observers, humanity was no longer just preparing. They were evolving. The first stage of Earth's defense was already in motion. The invasion begins. The first wave came without warning, but not without preparation. Aboard the Xyraxian mothership Stellar Dominance, Commander Krulax watched with clinical detachment as the initial invasion pods prepared for atmospheric entry. Thousands of sleek, metallic capsules gleamed against the void of space, their surfaces designed to slice through planetary atmospheres with surgical precision. "Initiate deployment sequence," Krulax commanded, his four-fingered hand hovering over the activation interface. What happened next would be recorded in galactic archives as the most unexpected first contact in recorded history. The invasion pods, meticulously engineered for planetary penetration, encountered resistance unlike anything in the Xyraxian computational models. As they breached Earth's atmosphere, a complex network of defense systems sprang to life, not with traditional weaponry, but with a strategy that defied all conventional warfare. Quantum-entangled communication networks, developed in secret by a global consortium of scientists, began to interface with the incoming alien technology. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the Global Threat Assessment Center, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Adaptive resonance protocol activated, she muttered, her voice calm despite the magnitude of the moment. The first wave of invasion pods found themselves caught in a web of technological interference. Quantum algorithms, developed through years of collaborative research, began to systematically disrupt the alien navigation systems. It wasn't destruction, it was calculated deconstruction. In the skies above major cities, something extraordinary began to unfold. Swarms of autonomous drones, originally developed for environmental monitoring and disaster response, repositioned themselves with uncanny precision. These were not military weapons, but adaptive systems that had been quietly evolving, learning, preparing. General Catherine Armstrong watched the initial engagement with a strategist's eye. They expected a traditional military response. She said to Marcus Okello, who stood beside her, "Instead, we're giving them something completely unexpected." The Xeraxian tactical systems began to malfunction. Invasion pods that were meant to deliver strike teams found themselves redirected, their internal systems confused by layers of quantum interference. Some were gently guided away from populated areas. Others found themselves landing in remote locations, their advanced technology temporarily neutralized. Krelax's initial confidence began to waver. The planet's defense systems were unlike anything in the collective's extensive database. There were no energy shields, no massive weapon platforms, just an incredibly complex, adaptive network that seemed to breathe and think as a single organism. "Tactical anomaly," reported Lyra, her bioluminescent skin flickering with confusion. "Our computational models are failing to predict planetary response." What the Xeraxians didn't understand was that humanity's true strength lay not in singular points of defense, but in its ability to adapt, to transform, to turn every potential vulnerability into an opportunity. In research facilities across the globe, scientists like Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka watched the initial engagement with a mixture of anticipation and calculated calm. They had prepared for this moment, not through traditional military might, but through innovation, cooperation, and an understanding of technology that went beyond simple destruction. The first wave of the invasion was not a defeat, it was a conversation, a demonstration of humanity's true potential. And it was only the beginning. Breaking point. The Xeraxian collective had never experienced genuine confusion until now. Commander Krelax stared at the tactical displays aboard the Stellar Dominance, his neural interfaces struggling to process the unprecedented scenario. Their second wave of invasion, a more aggressive approach designed to overwhelm any discovered defensive mechanisms, was systematically being neutralized in ways that defied all known combat protocols. Deep within a hidden mountain complex in the Andes, Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinated what could only be described as a planetary immune response. The global network they had developed was more than a communication system. It was a living, breathing adaptive organism. "Redirect quantum interference patterns," she instructed Marcus Okello, who was managing a complex array of holographic interfaces. "We're not just defending. We're learning." The aliens' technological superiority began to crumble against humanity's most unexpected weapon: adaptability. Every attack was met not with direct confrontation, but with a fluid, almost organic response that transformed the very nature of the conflict. Autonomous systems developed for climate research now served as distributed defense networks. Satellites originally designed for telecommunications became sophisticated jamming and redirection platforms. Even the planet's natural systems seemed to be participating, weather patterns subtly shifting, creating electromagnetic anomalies that confused alien sensors. General Catherine Armstrong oversaw the global coordination from a command center that looked more like a living ecosystem than a traditional military hub. "They expected a centralized target," she remarked to her team. "Instead, they're fighting an entire planet." Aboard the Stellar Dominance, Lyra, the Xeraxian data analyst, began to experience something unprecedented in her species' history: doubt. The computational models that had guided Xeraxian conquests for millennia were failing spectacularly. "Commander," she reported, her bioluminescent skin flickering with increasing agitation, "our invasion strategies are being systematically deconstructed. Not destroyed. Deconstructed. They're learning faster than we can adapt." Krulax watched in growing horror as invasion pods were redirected, their advanced technologies turned into nothing more than sophisticated paperweights. It wasn't that humans were fighting back. They were fundamentally rewriting the rules of engagement. In the skies above major cities, what appeared to be random drone swarms moved with a precision that suggested a collective intelligence. These were not military weapons, but adaptive systems that had been quietly evolving, learning, preparing. The quantum communication network developed by the Global Scientific Consortium was proving to be humanity's most potent weapon. It wasn't a shield or a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a collective intelligence that could predict, redirect, and neutralize threats before they fully materialized. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, monitoring the global response from a research facility in Tokyo, allowed himself a rare smile. "They see our technology," he muttered, "but they don't understand our spirit." As the Xeraxian invasion entered its most critical phase, they were beginning to realize a fundamental truth about humanity. This was not a species to be conquered. This was a planetary organism that would adapt, transform, and ultimately prevail. The breaking point was approaching, and humanity was just getting started. Earthly triumph. The final confrontation was nothing like anyone, human or Xeraxian, had anticipated. Commander Krulax watched in stunned silence as the stellar dominance began to experience systemic failures that defied all known technological understanding. It wasn't destruction. It was something far more terrifying: complete technological deconstruction. The quantum communication network that humanity had developed was no longer just a defensive system. It had become a living, thinking entity that was actively dismantling the Xeraxian invasion piece by piece. "We're being unmade," Lyra whispered, her bioluminescent skin flickering with a mixture of terror and scientific fascination. The alien data analyst was experiencing something her species had never conceptualized: true technological empathy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the Global Threat Assessment Center, her hands moving across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with collective intelligence. "Final phase initiating," she said quietly, her voice calm amidst the most significant moment in human history. The transformation was subtle at first. Xeraxian invasion pods began to lose functionality, not through direct attack, but through a complete reimagining of their technological infrastructure. Quantum algorithms developed through years of collaborative human research began to rewrite the very fundamental coding of the alien technology. General Catherine Armstrong watched the global response with a strategist's precision. "We're not just defending," she remarked to Marcus Okello. "We're communicating." And that was the key. Humanity's true strength wasn't in destruction, but in understanding. The global network they had created was more than a defensive system. It was a planetary communication platform that could interface with, understand, and ultimately neutralize technological threats. Aboard the Stellar Dominance, Commander Krulax experienced something unprecedented in Xeraxian history: genuine humility. The invasion that was supposed to be a simple resource extraction had become a fundamental lesson in the nature of intelligence, adaptation, and collective consciousness. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, monitoring the final stages of the confrontation, understood the deeper significance. "They thought we were primitive," he said to his colleagues. "They didn't realize we were evolving." The Xeraxian collective's computational models began to collapse, not through destruction, but through a complete reimagining of what technological conflict could mean. The invasion pods, once symbols of technological superiority, became nothing more than intricate puzzles that the human network was systematically understanding and neutralizing. As the final moments of the confrontation approached, something extraordinary happened. The quantum communication network began to send a message, not a threat, not a declaration of war, but a complex mathematical communication that was simultaneously an invitation, an explanation, and a demonstration of humanity's true potential. Lyra, the Ziraxian data analyst, was the first to truly understand. This wasn't a victory in the traditional sense. This was a first contact scenario that would redefine the very concept of interstellar communication. Commander Krillax made a decision that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. Instead of continuing the feudal invasion, the stellar dominance would become a communication vessel, a bridge between two fundamentally different yet profoundly connected forms of intelligence. The invasion was over, but humanity's true journey was just beginning. In the quiet moments that followed, Dr. Elena Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. They had done more than defend their planet. They had shown the universe what humanity could truly be.